So, a lot of people are advocating for using paper ballots instead of digital electronic computer ballots. But is there a better way to do this? I mean, why don't they want to use electronic computer ballots? Isn't that because you can't really verify whether something's been altered or changed, right? Well, if you use a blockchain, you can. But couldn't somebody falsify some identity or something? Well, if you're using a blockchain and everything is traceable, not only can you prove the immutable history um, by using hashes, which is fingerprinting all the information, but you can also have that history provable. Uh, so you can pick, say, part of it and show that a hash of somebody's identity matches a particular vote. So we don't have to stick with an old traditional computer system which can be broken into or altered and it's not secure. You have to trust the design of the operating system running it. Maybe the database has changed and somebody got admin access, some password was somewhere it shouldn't have been. We can move on from that. We can also move on from paper, where you still need a structure of verification and control to see what's actually going on with the paper ballots themselves. And we can have something where any individual can by themselves verify. They can take a computer program that goes and, without the help of anyone else, independently verify all of the history. But it's how this is implemented and understood. See, if the public doesn't understand how blockchains work, they'll never know how to use them. I mean, they literally believe that an NFT is a scam. An NFT, which is the same as a paper receipt that you get from the grocery store, that's an NFT, even if it's physical. Wikipedia doesn't say anything about it being a non-fungible token. It says it has something to do with blockchains, and people might believe, oh yeah, no, they're legitimate, but they're still scammy because they're only there to sell images. But from the beginning, I've been telling people, hey, you shouldn't really sell images where you can just change one pixel by 1%, because you can create another image that looks almost exactly the same to the human eye, and it has a different hash, and you can sell it separately, and it's not the same image. So how about we start educating ourselves and others, and we start learning how this works, what a fingerprint of the data is. So how do these hashes work? What is a sha256 hash? And why does the public need to understand how that works? Why does the public need to understand, for example, how the original Bitcoin design works? Why does the public need to understand what an ECDSA signature is and why they need to understand why it works? Because if the public, say they're given a credit card from the bank, and they don't understand that the whole point of the chip in that card is to hide a secret number that it never exposes to any other device, and they think they need to put a protective sleeve on their card because they don't understand that their card can't be copied. The private key in the chip cannot be copied unless you take the chip apart. If it's properly designed and properly being used by whatever institution is manufacturing these chips and using them. I mean, because the way these encryption schemes work is you can have a private key inside of a chip, and it's designed to respond to an inquiry from a bank, and the bank can see that it signs that key. And it can be such that these chips can be manufactured in a way where that key is generated by when the chip is created, and then it's signing. And you could also even probably use a more complicated system where you can probably mathematically prove that you don't have the original key. So for example, you could make the key you could make it based on a number that you could prove was either randomly generated or had to have come from another number that was, like, say, a hash of some file or number. But there's so many different ways this can work. But if people don't understand what's going on, I mean, if they don't even understand how to vote for something, they don't even understand, for example, that if you and your friends are just deciding amongst yourselves, no paper, no ballots, no computers, they're just raising their hands and they're deciding strawberry, chocolate, vanilla. They don't even understand that if you only take into account the first choice, I mean, nobody might vote for chocolate as their first choice, but you might find out when you ask them, hey, do you want strawberry or chocolate, or do you want vanilla or chocolate? You find out that they actually want chocolate more, just as much as strawberry vanilla, and they were only voting for the other one because they had it last time. I mean, that's a very simplified example. But imagine if you have 20 candidates. I mean, say everyone knows in the back of their mind the brain surgeon would be their second choice, but nobody actually votes for him as their first choice, even though whoever wins the first votes, the most first votes, is a lot of other people's last choice. I mean, imagine that. Just imagine that. How ridiculous that is. They don't even know how that math works. So how are we going to convince everyone how just things work? Just how do these things work? How does a schema for even taking a poll, taking a vote in the first place even work? People don't understand that. They don't know how to verbally take a vote. They don't know how to raise their hands to take a vote properly. How are we going to show them that using a blockchain, using not some named thing out there that's controlled by an institution? I'm not talking about BTC or ETH. I'm talking about, well, you could use BSV because it's the original Bitcoin design now, and that's the new ticker symbol for the original Bitcoin design, the original one. But a blockchain, I mean, just taking a set of files, taking a set of votes or whatever, putting them together. I mean, you could type it in a text file, and then you could get the SHA256 of that .txt file, and then that will give you a number. And you can even take that number and you can add it to the bottom of another text file and then get the SHA256 of that one. And there you go. You have a chain, a blockchain. That's what a blockchain is. And you can see provably that none of the data has changed, and you can keep logging and adding more data. And you can check to see, hey, do we have any duplicate votes here? Do we have anything that's not auditable here? The way it works, you can make it so that everything is auditable. Paper ballots, I don't have possession of paper ballots from other votes. I'm trusting that somebody told me that they've audited these paper ballots. So, and yeah, if it was digital but not like structured in a way that I can audit myself, then yeah, of course I don't think that you can trust that. I mean, how are you supposed to know that nobody's messed with this computer? Nobody has admin access to just change votes to whatever they want. I mean, that's different. Whereas on a blockchain where you sign, no, I'm voting for this person, you can check to make sure that your vote is in the history and it has a Merkle path up to the signature. You know, yes, see, my vote got counted as a up instead of a down, and I can mathematically verify that. So when are people going to understand how these hash, they don't have to study the hash algorithm to see how it works under the hood, but they need to know what it does. Just like they need to be able to look at a car, and even if they don't know how the engine works, they need to know what the car does. They need to understand, hey, this car, it actually moves. It can potentially maybe hit someone or transport people around. And they don't know what it is. They don't know what these SHA-256 hashes are, even what they're doing. They don't have a concept of digital verification. They don't have the concept of mathematical proofs. They don't have the concept of blockchains. They don't understand these things. And so they're just going to be going to these banks and they're going to be trusting whatever any scammer, any institution, anyone trying to further a globalist agenda. They're going to fall for all of these things, and they're not going to listen to somebody who actually explains the truth. Even though they're not asking for any trust, they'll say, just look, do your research, do the math, study it for yourself, figure out how this works, so that you don't have to even trust me. You can see, you can understand how it works. But people don't want to do that. They don't want to study. They want to say, oh, yeah, no, there's a whole ecosystem. All these cryptocurrencies, they're all just similar models. No, they're not. They're not, because it's not the same as cars. If it was, then you have a lot of people who are really, really, really excited about investing in a car that takes 10 million gallons of gasoline to only go 1 mile. You see? It's not the same as cars, because people understand cars. And that doesn't mean they understand how the engine works. They just understand that the car moves and it transports people. But they don't know what these cryptocurrencies, they don't even know what they do. They think they know enough. They do not have a clue. They do not understand this stuff. Because you have programmers, you have institutions that work on this stuff and invest in this stuff, and people will say, oh yeah, well, I'm going to trust that $1 billion institution. They don't understand that you can't do that with this. This is not like a trucking company. This is not like your typical system. I'm sorry to break it to you guys, but people at the top of universities and countries and institutions and corporations, people at the very precipice, high IQ people do not understand these systems, even in the basic fundamentals. And those are the same people that think that they do understand them enough, that they think that they get it enough. I'm telling you, that is not the case at all here. If you don't understand that why BSV is the correct Bitcoin, not just that it has the original addresses, not just that they reassigned the letters, BTC to the wrong quote unquote fork, not just that, but if you can't understand the huge, vast difference in the block size and how it's okay to have a big block size, that it doesn't centralize the system, it actually decentralizes it because it has more edges, how it makes it a lot more efficient, not just slightly more efficient, but a lot more efficient. Because the anti-spam for the nodes is not just hash rate, it's hash rate sort of multiplied with how many edges there are, because you have to protect against anti-spam, you have to know that somebody's not sending you garbage information. And an easier way to do that is to have a lot of trusted nodes that you're connected with. So that's just like airports versus houses, residential homes. If you don't understand that, if you don't understand the original opcodes and how everyone was trying to shut Craig up about, oh no, if Vitalik saying, oh, BSV doesn't scale, and then he makes Ethereum and Ethereum doesn't work. I'm sorry. But BSV does. It has all the original opcodes, and it's economically sustaining into the future. And it's not through an internet system, except for the double spends. So it actually is resilient to, you have some people that say, oh no, what if the power goes out? What if there's an EMP? What if there's nuclear bomb? Those are for the nodes connecting, but they're incentivized to connect. You can still pay someone. You don't need to connect to the internet. They only do to check for the double spend. This is a commodity. Okay. BTC is not a commodity. All these people trying to advocate for it, they're confused. They don't know their computer science good enough. They're trying to act like you can just change the definitions of things in politics. That's not how this works. This is like the laws of physics. It's like gravity. It's like they're trying to act like you can vote gravity out. No. This is the laws of math, okay? You can't, it's a commodity. BSV is a commodity, BTC is not, because BTC requires exponentially more energy because the small blocks, that was not a community consensus. They try to act like it was. Oh, it was block size wars. No, it wasn't. It was block size takeover by Blockstream, who's funded by MasterCard and globalists. They don't want real Bitcoin to work. They want to make money from Lightning Network and all this other junk, and they want to lie to you and make you think that small blocks is more decentralized. No, it's not. It's distributed, and Bitcoin is not a distributed network. It's a decentralized network, which is a different thing. Decentralized is like airports. They all have to be connected with each other. You don't have them spread out like that. This is a different type of network. You can do that type of network, but not for double spend checking. And that's what Bitcoin uses. It uses double spend checking. It doesn't propagate videos like a YouTube. No, this is different. I'm sorry, guys. This is different. I've even invented a network that is even more disconnected than distributed. It's transient. It's a word of mouth reputation system. But that's because it doesn't function as money. It functions as reputation. And there's no central authority, right? So it's you could say it's decentralized, but it's literally, there's not even a blockchain. And you're able to, now I didn't it's not out there, people aren't using it, but the way it works is like word of mouth, but it's digital. And not digital as in you're trusting Facebook, you're trusting YouTube. No. It doesn't matter if you have a million scammers and only one trustworthy person. All the scammers can give each other 5 stars as much as they want, and they try to give the trustworthy person a 0 stars. And guess what? You still will have, they will have no effect on you seeing 5 stars for the trustworthy person, because there's no central authority. So their votes won't matter unless they're doing valid business with you or through somebody that you already trust. It's all, it's like works like water pipes, but it flows from you. So you're not depending on Facebook for it. You're not depending on YouTube. You're not depending on a central authority to decide this is good, this is bad. And I'm not saying that Facebook and YouTube are bad. I'm just saying it's the central authority has no way of determining who's a scammer and who's not. They just don't even know. Like, I was banned from Facebook Marketplace, not because Facebook is out to get me, but because somebody just kept commenting, somebody competing with me kept commenting, oh, this is a scam, this is a scam. So Facebook doesn't know what to do except just ban me, like block me, because they don't know what to do except just believe whatever whoever has more accounts says something, or whoever has more influence from their perspective, they have to go with that. Whereas when you're doing business with people, the numbers can't add up, right? The scammers can't add up, because you have to do business with them, or you have to do business with someone who trusts them, or business with someone who trusts somebody who trusts them, and so on. That's different. And that's the same logic. Remember, Google got started with the same type of algorithm. Their very first search engine that got their company going used this exact type of logic, this type of design, to figure out which websites are better ones to trust, better ones to go to. So you couldn't come up with 1,000 scammy websites, because the one that's already trusted more isn't referencing them, but they might reference them. So the weight, there is a sort of a centrality to their algorithm, but it still used the public's, it took the public's information together. So you couldn't, there was no, hey, if there's more accounts doing something, to scam, that wouldn't work with this algorithm. It would have to be um, it would have to interfere with the mass of the existing system. So mine is actually even more decentralized than Google's original algorithm. Okay, so guys, we got to start using our brains. We got to start educating everyone, older than you, younger than you, everyone. Got to start teaching them how do these hashes work. How does an EDCSA signature work? Why is this SegWit and Taproot and all this stuff in BTC garbage? And then why is high transaction fees assigned that's garbage network? It's not going to work. Doesn't make sense. You need transaction fees which are 1/10,000th of a cent, not because you're poor and you can't afford to pay $2 for a couple transactions, but because you need millions, billions of transactions to all propagate on the same network. And you need to know that that's sustainable. And you're going to have computer systems that are going to do more transactions than people just going to the gas station in Walmart. You're going to have computer systems that are doing transactions to get multiple terabyte packets being sent over specific routes, over satellites, or to compute certain things. That it's going to be a whole different future with these AI agents that are doing services for other computers or other people. I mean, it's not going to be cheap. You're going to have AI systems and computer internet systems, and you're going to have traffic and all this, and it's going to work very efficiently, very well. That only because you have a right system that works. You can't have plumbing that doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. I can't have plumbing and connect up a whole city and try to use a little bit of residential plumbing to connect up on a whole city. It's not going to work. It doesn't work that way. Sorry. It doesn't work that way, guys. You need highways. You need interstates when you have a higher and higher population. BSV is the original Bitcoin. The original Bitcoin works like interstates. It gets everything done without traffic getting stuck anywhere. Trust me. This is a different type of thinking in the future. People need to start, even in private. You don't have to say the government needs to do this right now, but even in private, learn how to do a blockchain related vote. It doesn't have to be on a quote unquote what people call cryptocurrency. No, forget that. Use an actual hash. Find somebody who knows how this programming works. Find people who know their computer science and start creating these voting systems, these apps, these things that let you vote on things, and start participating in it and being like, oh, so how do I prove I can verify that my vote went through and that everyone got the same amount of voting power and that we're doing a Condorcet vote and all these other things, and learn how it works. Because I'm telling you, the math is all there. You don't have to trust people. You don't have to go through this. We don't have to go and we need to use paper votes. Don't stop going with these software companies that are just trying to make money from your pocket, and start using the ones that know what they're doing because they have math behind them. Whether they have money or not, they prove what they're doing with mathematics. And they prove it, not meaning that you're trusting them. They're telling you, no, you actually go and you actually see the math for yourself and how it works and what's going on. So you can write your own code if you need to on your own device, running your own operating system or whatever, and you can verify using math what the actual votes are, what's been signed by which keys and everything like that, and you can audit. Come on, guys. Start learning how this works. This is important. All right? Don't be confused. I'm not saying the Amish are bad for staying away from technology. What I'm saying is they claim that they stay away from technology, but then they end up depending on it in a way that gives them no sovereignty or no control. So It's the fact that they're just being complete. They're just making things up. They're not applying the logic correctly. All right. You got some people that'll say, "Oh, don't breed these dogs. There's too many in all these shelters." It's like, okay, but you have to, if that logic is going to work, you have to stop everyone. And if you don't stop everyone, if that that 0.01% of people allowing these dogs to breed the worst, most unhealthy possible dogs, then your whole plan goes up in flames, because now you just stopped all the healthy breeding and you helped the unhealthy breeding, right? So if they don't know what they're doing, if they're going to be, if they're not going to practice what they preach, they say, hey, stay away from technology, but then they go full force into the worst possible way you could do the technology. It's worse than if you stayed away from the technology. That's my point. All right, that's my point. You can't make the claim, oh, I'm going to stay away from technology, and then reject the answer, the solution, under the guise of, deceiving yourself, under the guise of, oh yeah, it's somehow I'm protecting myself. I'm doing things better, the right way. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, guys. Learn how these hashes work. Educate yourself. Learn how these digital signatures work. Learn how key signing works. Learn some. You don't have to become a programmer. You don't have to become a computer scientist. You don't have to become a mathematician. Okay? But don't take what you see in all these newspaper headlines, articles. Learn for yourself how this works.